First of all, I'd like to thank you for inviting me into your home. You know, I know it's kind of a step of faith that you even have this program, but let me tell you something. This is not a motivational program. I'm not a cheerleader, I'm not a motivator, I'm not a professional speaker, I'm not even a professional writer. I build businesses for a living, and I direct television shows for a living, and I write television shows for a living. But a few years ago, quite a few years ago, I learned some strategies that completely changed my life. And I can promise you that if you learn these strategies and the simple, easy skills to apply those strategies to the important areas of your life, then life's going to get a lot better. And it's going to start getting better with these first 2 sessions. This is not an entertainment program. This is a mentoring program. What's a mentor? A mentor is a coach. What's a coach do? I'm going to teach you some things, and then I'm going to coach you through them. Now, you've been nice enough to invite me into your home, so we're actually doing this in my mountain cabin. This is where I go to get away, to do my writing, and more importantly, this is where my family has the most fun times of our life. So since you were nice enough to invite me into your house, I thought we'd do this seminar in my house. But there's one thing I've got to tell you. It's not just you and me. I've invited some other people here to attend the various sessions. There'll be some people that'll be here the whole time. Other people are going to switch out with other people, friends and stuff that I've wanted to have here. And I'm doing that for one reason. I can't see you, and I can't hear your questions. So I thought it would be good to have a group that might ask the questions that you would ask at the end of each session, and would have the same kinds of problems, so I can answer their questions, and hopefully we'll be answering your questions at the same time. Also, when we get into some specific skills, we'll do a little role playing, and you'll get to see how they actually use these skills to communicate and to do the things that they really want to accomplish in their lives, and that'll give you some ideas on how to apply them. But you have 2 things that you've got to have as you watch each session, okay? You've got your vision mapping journal, and you're not going to need to break that out until about our 3rd session. The good news is, don't be scared by it. It looks like a thick notebook, but what that is, that's for the rest of your life. That's not something you're going to fill out in the course of these sessions. You're actually going to use that as a journal for the rest of your life, and that's exciting because it's all about you. It's the one book in your life. It's not about anybody else. It's about you and your dreams and achieving those dreams. But you can set that aside for now. What you're going to need are the workbooks. And the first workbook that you have is what you're going to be using for these first few sessions. So you need to get that. We're going to start with an introduction. Now, what's good as an introduction? Most people don't even like to read introductions in book, but an introduction is the foundation. And these first 3 sessions are foundationals. Now, a foundation is an ugly piece of cement. It's actually quite boring. But no house in history that's ever been sturdy has been built without a foundation. And buildings, imagine high-rise. Well, your life is like a high-rise, or it could be, but we've got to build the concepts and the strategies and the skills on a foundation. The second session we're going to get into is fun because you're going to learn some things about yourself that you never had a clue about. And we're going to show you some strengths that you have and how to play to those strengths. We're going to show some weaknesses and how to build up on those weaknesses and compensate. So the strategies, skills, and techniques that you're going to learn have empowered the world's most successful people for hundreds of years. But the sad thing is, none of these are taught in school. I went to high school, college, business school. Not one of these strategies are taught anywhere along the line. And yet, they are the key to achieving extraordinary outcomes. As you begin to use these, they're going to automatically move you to levels of success that you haven't experienced before. If you have a problem with a teenager, a communication problem, all of a sudden you start using the communication skills that you're going to learn, and the communication problems are going to come to a close real quick. You won't even believe how you can communicate with a teenager. I have kids of all ages. I have 7 kids. So I go from 4 to 34, every decade in between. I mean, we've got them covered. And so we've got a number of communication problems. Of course, I have a wife, and that instantly creates a communication problem. Anytime we have a male-female relationship, there are gender problems as far as communication goes. Well, these communication techniques that we're going to learn a little later deal with all of those. So you can apply these strategies and techniques to virtually any area of life. You can apply them to your marriage, your parenting, your business, your career, your job, a particular project on the job, any project in fact. You can apply them to relationships. I use them in every area of my life, and consequently I've experienced a tremendous amount of joy and fulfillment. A lot of guys I know who have been super achievers in business. I know a lot of millionaires, a lot of guys that are worth hundreds of millions, and a few that are worth billions. And I've watched their families fall apart and disintegrate. I've watched these guys totally unhappy. They've got everything the world could offer, and yet they're not happy. Okay, so that's a waste. Well, we're going to show you how to balance everything too, so that no matter what area of life you apply these in, you're going to see tremendous impacts. Now, as I mentioned, they're not taught in school, but these strategies and skills are learned one of two ways. There's only two ways to learn them that I know about. One is trial and error, and a lot of people learn them through trial and error, but to learn all of these strategies that way would take you a couple lifetimes. The people that learn and use all of these strategies have learned them from a mentor. The mentoring program is the fast way. And so you're going to be encouraged later on in one of our sessions. I'm going to show you how to recruit, how to discover, how to find mentors for the important things in life. So I'm going to mentor you in these strategies and techniques, but one of the strategies involves actually finding mentors for the areas of life that you want to excel in, because a mentor changes everything. In fact, a teacher or a motivational speaker will give you good general principles. How many of you have ever heard a motivational speaker? Okay, so you're in my camp. And I love motivational speakers because they always get me excited, but they're great cheerleaders. And typically what happens is you hear something at a talk and you say, wow, that's pretty cool. And you go home and nothing changes. You're all excited for a week or 2 weeks and nothing changes in your life. The relationships stay the same, the job stays the same. You don't see any major change, and then you think it's your fault. And you think, hey, that guy was right, but look at me, I'm failing again. I can't even take something that I heard. Man, look at all the changes this guy talked about and what it did in his life, but it's not doing it in my life. And so you feel guilty and you feel frustrated and you feel like a failure. Well, the reason that motivational speakers and teachers usually are better cheerleaders than mentors is because they don't give the skills that it takes to apply the strategies to the important areas of your life. Now, a lot of friends of mine are in the military, and I will tell you, I've studied generals' lives. I've studied Patton, Pershing, MacArthur, great generals, tremendous strategies. These guys moved mountains that were immovable, okay? But let me tell you something. If all they had was strategies, if they didn't have people that could drive tanks, fire guns accurately, fly planes, drop bombs, if they didn't have people that had the skills, the strategies would have been worthless, okay? So it all comes down to the skills. Well, the good news is everything we're going to talk about in these sessions are learnable skills. And here's the best news of all. They can be learned by a child. Now, there's 4 reasons why this program is going to make a critical difference in your life, okay? Number 1, you're going to learn the master strategies that have been used by the world's most successful people to achieve their impossible dreams. You're going to learn them. That's the first step. Number 2, you're going to learn the skills and techniques to instantly begin to apply them. You're not going to have to practice, and maybe I'll use that one a month from now or 2 months from now. You're going to go home and you're going to use them that night in your communication. You're going to go to work the next day and start using them, okay? So they're instantly usable. That's the neat thing about the techniques and the skills. Number 3, in teaching these skills, we're going to use interactive exercises. That's why you have your workbooks, okay? So every session has with it a handful of things that you're going to have to do. Don't think you can get along without doing them, okay? You don't do them, you don't learn the skill. You don't learn the skill, you don't apply the strategy. You don't apply the strategy, there's no change in your life. So you take 5 or 10 minutes to do the exercises at the end of each session so that you really get the impact of that session. That's critical, okay? Now remember, we're not doing this for entertainment. You could go out and buy a book, but people don't change their lives usually from a single book, okay? In fact, most people don't even finish self-help books. Have any of you ever read a self-help book? Okay. Did your life radically change afterwards? No, see? Because most self-help books won't give you the skills. They'll give you the nice principles, but not the skills. But you're going to learn the skills. Number 4, you're not being lectured by an educator or a motivator, but rather you're going to be mentored by someone who's already done it. I flunked out of 9 jobs in 6 years. And then by using the strategies that I'm going to coach you in or mentor you in, we turned everything around. Now, let me just tell you for a minute the difference between a good teacher and a good mentor. A good teacher might increase your income potential or your success level by 5, 10, or 15, 25%. Now that sounds good. Wouldn't you like a 25% raise in the next year, see? But a good mentor will change your level of success to the point of 1,000, 10,000, 50,000%. Now, if that sounds ridiculous, let me just tell you, my mentor turned my income around and improved my income by 56,000%. So that's the difference between being mentored and being lectured. So let me tell you how I know they'll work for you. I've not only used these in my life to change my life and in the lives of my family, but I've had people bring me their dreams, their impossible dreams. For example, a makeup artist came to me. She had a new foundation, a new base makeup. And she had had it for 8 years and just had a garage full of it, had never been able to sell it. Well, we applied these strategies and in 5 years sold $300 million worth of cosmetics, 120 different products that we developed and applied these strategies to. And she became a multimillionaire. So wherever you apply these strategies, they work. They work for anybody. In fact, when Donald Trump read my first book a long time ago, many years ago, he wrote about the strategies. He said, Steve Scott's strategies are so specific and easily applied, I believe they can empower anyone, from a college student to a small business owner to the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, to achieve levels of success they've not yet dreamed of. Now, Trump knows a little bit about success, and I didn't even know if he would like what he read, but I think he identified with it, because what happens, anybody who has achieved extraordinary outcomes in their life instantly see that it was these strategies and the application of these strategies that do it. So will they work for you? Absolutely. All you need to do is learn them and diligently apply them to the important areas of your life. I went to high school with another Steve. In fact, we sat next to each other at nearly every football game. He was in the band. I was in the color guard, the two places you didn't want to be in the 60s. But our combined weight was about 220 pounds, half of which was acne, the other half braces. And so we didn't qualify for the football team. But we sat next to each other at every football game. And I didn't know his last name. One day my mom calls me and she said, do you know that Steven Spielberg went to Arcadia? And I said, no, I didn't, Mom. I knew everybody at Arcadia. She said, go get your annual. So I went and got my annual, went down the index, sure enough, Steve Spielberg. So I real quick flip, it's the guy sitting next to it every football game. Okay? So, whoa, that's right. And he was a C student in a good semester. But I ran into him 18 years later, and we had both accomplished our impossible dreams. And we started comparing notes. And we both discovered that we had used the exact same strategies. He had used them in filmmaking, I had used them in marketing and in business, but they both enabled us to achieve our impossible dreams. And as we're talking, he said, isn't it amazing? The things that really change your life aren't what you learn in school, they're what you learn from your mentors. And I said, yeah, but Steve, how many people have mentors like you and I have had? And he goes, boy, you're right about that. See, because he had 2 mentors at Universal that changed his whole life. So that's why the mentoring program is so important, why the mentoring process is so important. Now, I graduated with honors. Steve didn't. I went to college on an academic scholarship and graduated from the business school with a degree in marketing and advertising. Steve didn't make it into college. He was rejected from UCLA Film School and from SC Film School. And yet, 9 years after we graduated from high school, I had flunked out of 9 jobs. I was making less than half of the average American wage earner. I had not been able to hold a job for more than 4 to 9 months Meanwhile, Steve had not only directed television shows and a television movie that was very successful, he had just finished directing the #1 box office film of all time at the time, Jaws. So that's where we both were in 1975. So what was the difference? I had the degree. I had the college education. I was doing everything I was taught in school. I wasn't lazy. I was working every day from 9 to 6, 7, or 8 o'clock at night on every job I had. I couldn't succeed no matter how hard I tried. But that was my life. Meanwhile, Spielberg was making the biggest movies in history. In fact, the whole term blockbuster came from Jaws. That term had never been used for a movie until Jaws, but because kids lined up around the block for it, one New York critic called it a blockbuster, and that's how we got that term. So what was he doing that I wasn't doing? I was doing everything I was taught, everything I was supposed to do, and he wasn't doing any of those things. He was using a whole different set of strategies. So here's the lesson. You do the strategies that ordinary people do, and you get ordinary outcomes. You use the strategies that are used by superachievers, and you get extraordinary outcomes. It's that simple. It's not your education. It's not your IQ. Now, educations are important. They provide a foundation. We need an education. But that's all they do. Now, what good is a house if it only has a foundation? You still get cold. There's no air conditioning. It's not real fun until you get the walls up and get it furnished and everything else. Well, these strategies allow you to build skyscrapers on the foundation that your education provided, okay? But without these strategies, you're going to do ordinary, a little bit above ordinary, a little bit below ordinary, but you're not going to do extraordinary. Just as there are physical laws that govern the universe. You know, I can throw a ball up 1,000 times, and every single time it's going to come down to the ground unless I'm in outer space. It will always happen, okay? We're governed by physical laws. Well, there are also laws of life, even though they're invisible and we don't know it, that govern relationships and so on. But there are also laws of extraordinary success. And when you follow those laws, you achieve extraordinary success in any area. When you don't follow those laws, well, you don't follow the law of gravity, guess what? You crash. You fall down on the ground unexpectedly, you're in an airplane and you stall out, all sorts of things. So throughout these sessions, we're going to give laws for extraordinary success. We're also going to do something else. I'm going to tell you in a minute. We all approach life, projects, problems, opportunities from one of 4 perspectives, and we're going to look at those 4 perspectives because that's really interesting. So the first law of extraordinary success is people who achieve ordinary outcomes do so by using conventional approaches and methods taught in schools and used by the masses. People who achieve extraordinary to near impossible outcomes do so by using a whole different set of master strategies that are used universally and consistently by superachievers and are virtually unknown to the masses, okay? So that's law number 1. Second law of extraordinary success is that superachievers learn these master strategies from mentors, the fast way, or through the agonizing process of trial and error, the slow way. But you're going to all be learning the fast way. And you're going to learn how to use them instantly. So that's what's exciting and different about this program. Okay, now we get into the good stuff, okay? All that was just preliminary. There are 4 types of people, or 4 ways that people approach different things in life. Projects, their career, their marriage, their parenting, problems, specific opportunities. They always approach from one of 4 perspectives. And here's the 4 perspectives. I'm going to give them to you. And you may see yourself in every area of your life as one perspective. You may approach everything in your life from one of these perspectives. Or you may say, well, in this area, in my work, I do this. At home, I do this. I do this with my spouse. I do this with my kids, okay? But it is amazing, and throughout our sessions, in every session, we're going to see what these 4 different approaches do. Because there's the best approach, and that's what you want to aspire to. And the neat thing is, even if you're in the worst approach, which is the first one we're going to talk about, it's pretty easy to move from the first to the fourth. Okay, so 4 approaches. Okay, approach number 1 is that of a drifter. Drifters are those people who move through life like a raft on a river, going with the flow wherever it takes them. They just go with the flow. They only exert as much effort and creativity as is necessary to stay afloat. No more, no less. Now, this is the bottom level of achievers, and it represents more than 50% of the adult population of America. They drift through life. They drift in their marriage. They drift in their parenting. They drift in their job, their careers. I was a drifter. I drifted a lot, okay? Now, the second way people approach problems are pursuers. Pursuers are those who want to set their own course and pursue their dreams. They achieve some of their dreams, but they fail to achieve most. They lack the knowledge, resources, and effective strategies and critical skills necessary to achieve significant, extraordinary outcomes. And that represents about 30% of the population, pursuers. Now I went back and forth between drifters and pursuers. I was a drifter in my marriage, just went with the flow wherever it went. I was a drifter in my parenting, go with the flow wherever it goes. But in work, I was a pursuer. I really tried hard. I tried harder than just about anyone around me. I always worked later, I put more into it, but I didn't accomplish much, okay? That represents about 30% of the population. We're already up to 80% of the population. We haven't even got to the good stuff yet, okay? Now the next group are achievers. Achievers are those who also set their own course and power their way to various destinations regardless of the flow of the river. They set significant goals in either their personal or professional lives and consistently achieve those goals. However, they rarely achieve extraordinary outcomes. Their strategies are based on conventional wisdom. They rarely perform outside the box. They don't utilize the strategies, skills, and techniques that are critical for achieving extraordinary outcomes or superachieving. This represents the remainder of the adult population minus 0.1%. About 1 in 1,000 people fall into the fourth category, and that's the category of superachievers. Superachievers are those who get out of the river altogether. They use a set of strategies and skills that empower them to pursue and achieve extraordinary outcomes and impossible dreams consistently as a matter of professional or personal lifestyle. They're not limited by rivers, they're not limited by anything. In fact, they know no limits. They consistently and habitually achieve extraordinary outcomes in any areas in which they apply their master strategies for superachieving. Now, because they have learned these skills and techniques that are necessary to implement these strategies, doing so ultimately becomes second nature to them. So they just do it by course of nature. They don't have to think about it. It becomes that much of a habit. Okay, so what do we have again? We have drifters, go with the flow, pursuers, people that really try hard, achievers, those who set goals and achieve goals, and superachievers, those who set impossible goals, extraordinary goals, and achieve them using a whole different set of strategies. Now the good news is the master strategies and skills that superachievers use are learnable. We've already seen how they've affected different people that I've worked with, from my family to friends that have brought me their dreams. They work wherever they're used. Now, the good news is moving from the level of a drifter in any area. I was a drifter in my marriage, okay? Now I move between pursuer, achiever, and superachiever, depending on the project, okay? Now, work, on the other hand, I pretty much qualify for a superachiever. I set impossible goals on a regular basis, and I'm very blessed and fortunate that I'm able to achieve those because I use the strategies that you're going to learn, okay? Most of the goals that I set are impossible goals, and we're going to learn about that a little later on. And I normally achieve, I would say, 50 to 75% of them. But for impossible dreams, that's pretty good, okay? But it's not because I've got a higher IQ. Remember, for the first 6 years after college, I couldn't get out of the pursuer mode, no matter how hard I tried. So going from pursuer to superachiever isn't hard, it's just a different set of strategies, okay? You can cut down a tree with a hammer. You can work 20 hours a day as hard as you want, build up a sweat, and really be sincere. but that tree isn't going to come down for a long time. I mean, that's hard. Or you can go to the store, buy a chainsaw, cut it down in a few minutes. Okay, same ultimate result, but a lot smarter. And that's what the different strategies are going to be. And they're, believe me, they're different when we get into them. Are there any areas of your life that you would classify yourself as a drifter? Just go with the flow.
Sure. Yes.
Okay. Maybe parenting's the easiest. Your marriage is the easiest place to do that. You get so into a routine that you just go with the flow. Okay. How about pursuers? Have there been any areas where you could say, "Hey, man, I can really identify with a pursuer. Really, really trying hard." Okay. Now, how about achieving? Do you set goals, real specific goals, and create a plan for those goals in any area of your life? I want to ask you a question. Do you? So if I ask you to show me your goals, you could go home right now, bring me a piece of paper that would show a specific goal and a plan to achieve that goal. How many of you have one of those at home? Okay, good, good. So in that area, you may be an achiever. How many of you have set impossible dreams? Impossible goals that everybody around you would say you're nuts, and have achieved those. Well, you can become a super achiever in any area of your life that you want to when you use the right strategies. Okay, now we're going to look about how people pursue their dreams. I want you for a minute to think of your dreams, whatever those dreams may be. I mean, they may be for a happier marriage. Maybe they're for a marriage if you're single. How do you find the right guy, so on, or the right girl? For your parenting, your grandkids, for yourself, for your job, for a side business. Think for a minute about your dreams. And when you think about them, I want you to think about the map of the United States. Okay, now, our dreams, if nobody limits us, are all over that map. Maybe you're located in Dallas, Texas, and one dream, a great dream, is in New York City. Another dream is in San Francisco. Another dream is in Phoenix, Arizona. All these destinations are where your dreams are. Another dream is just right down the block, but that's not that big of a dream. That's easy for you to get to, okay? Well, that's how dreams are. Whether it's for your job, your marriage, you want a great marriage, they're like destinations on a map. Now, most people walk to their dreams, okay? They walk to their dreams. So what happens if you live in San Francisco and your dream is in New York City? What are the chances of getting there? See, that's why most people give up on their dreams. They realize how far and impossible they are, and they look down at their feet and their shoes and they think, I can't do that. I don't have the time. I don't have the talent. I don't have the money. I don't know how to do it. I can't be like Donald Trump and fly in a private jet that I own. Okay, that's impossible. And so what they do, they only pursue the dreams that they can walk to. Now, what we're going to do in the remaining sessions, my wife and I, we enjoy cars. This is just a little quirk we have. So we have some kind of nice cars. For getting anywhere in the world we want to get as far as terrain, we got the most powerful SUV ever made. It's called a Mercedes G-Wagon. It has enough torque to climb up any ski run. It's wonderful. Okay? And to get somewhere fast, my wife has 2 sports cars. She has what was her wedding present back in 1991, which is a little Porsche, cobalt blue, beautiful Porsche. And so now it's a classic. And then she has a 500S sports car, which is really cool because it's a hard top, so it's nice and safe, but the top goes into the trunk. I mean, it just, in 30 seconds, you just punch a button and it goes in. So that's kind of fun. Then we have SUVs to take around the kids to wherever we want, you know, and then I have a nice sedan. We like those cars. Now, suppose for a moment your dream, you live in Los Angeles, and you and I both live there, and the most wonderful dream you could ever dream is in New York City. And the most wonderful dream I could ever dream is in Atlanta, Georgia. And we both live in LA, okay? Now, how are we going to get there? You're going to walk. I'm not going to have to walk. In fact, if I had the right device on my car, I could move there at 150 miles an hour. The Mercedes will actually go closer to 200, but Mercedes puts a governor on it when they ship them to the United States, so they top out at 150. So For me, the fact that a dream is clear in Atlanta doesn't mean anything. I can get there real quick. Okay? Donald Trump can fly there in his private jet. He can get there quicker than I can drive there. But you guys don't have a chance of getting to your distant dreams because you're going to walk there in your shoes. Well, what these strategies do is they put that Porsche Turbo Carrera in your garage, and you can use it to get to any dream you want. And if it can't get you there fast enough, then you can use the jet at the airport. And if that doesn't get you there because it's on a mountaintop, and jets don't land on mountaintops, then you're going to have an SUV in your garage that's going to be able to climb any mountain. That's what these strategies are going to do. But let's look for a minute at how the 4 types pursue their dreams, okay? Because this is what really happens. Most people give up on their dreams. 2 years out of college, I'd given up on every dream. Dream for a happy marriage. I'd given up on a dream for any kind of career in advertising and marketing, any kind of success. All that I was just trying to get by. Just wanted food on the table. Do you know that a Bible study group that I went to felt so sorry for us that on a weekly basis they would leave groceries on our doorstep? That was in 1975. In 1976, I started using these strategies, and life changed completely. So here's how our 4 types pursue dreams. Drifters walk through life in dress shoes. Okay? Now I got dress shoes on right now, and it's okay. I mean, I'm nice and comfortable. My feet aren't real sore yet from just standing here. Okay? Now, pursuers are a little better. They're smarter. They sprint toward their dreams in running shoes. Okay? Now, New Balance is my favorite brand, I got to tell you, because I got wide feet, and New Balance makes wide shoes. And so I love them, and they feel like they're broken in the day you buy them. Okay? But I'm glad I'm not a pursuer, because I don't even want to run to my dreams. Okay? Because it's too slow for me. But pursuers sprint in running shoes. Achievers go one better. They run marathons. They go at a marathoner's pace in running shoes. Superachievers leave the shoes in the closet, put on a nice comfortable pair of socks, and get in their Porsche and drive at 150 miles an hour toward their dream. So you can go ahead and you can walk toward your close dreams, but you'll never reach an impossible dream or an extraordinary outcome just walking in dress shoes or running in running shoes. You gotta have something else, and that's what we're gonna get into. That concludes this first session, and what I want you to do at home is this is the time to go to your workbook and complete that first set of exercises. It only takes about 3 to 5 minutes on this set. No big deal, but it's important that you do it. Review the laws of extraordinary success, complete the few questions there, okay? Because that's gonna serve us in our next session. Now, our next session is one that I'm really excited about, because you're gonna learn things that your mom didn't know about you, your teachers never told you, chances are your spouse doesn't even know this about you. You're gonna learn some really neat things because you're gonna discover your personality type. You're gonna take a test, and it's the one test in life you can't fail. Absolutely impossible to fail this test. But you're gonna learn your strengths, you're gonna learn some weaknesses, you're gonna learn how to compensate for those weaknesses, you're going to learn how to play to your strengths, and most important, you're going to learn the types of people you need to partner with to achieve extraordinary outcomes, because all of us need to partner. That's one of our future sessions. But this is going to be the foundation for any partnering you do in life. So go ahead, take a few minutes now. Now, let me ask you one more favor. When you watch these sessions, do it at a time when there's no interruptions. Okay, because I like to keep the train of thought going, and it's important that we do that. So when the kids are in bed, when the phone's not ringing, when people have gone to work, that's the time to view your sessions. And leave yourself enough time to not only view the session, but an extra 3 to 5 minutes at the end of a session to do the exercise. So we'll be right back in a minute. Whenever you're ready, do it at a time that it's convenient for you. But this next session is going to be a foundational session that everything else we talk about is going to be built on. See you then.